have to have, have to have somebody to receive what you have to offer. And if they're open, I think that makes the artist can sense this openness, and it makes him want to give more. And I think that last night was, last week, was a good example of what I call a good audience.
Are you finding that? Can I show this? Is there a way to show this? This album, as I said to you before, is a killer. It's I heard it on the radio. I was in Boston, and ran right out and bought it, and I'm sure it's getting great reception.
Yeah.
Do you find that you have to try to cover the album like most popular groups go out there and they have to cover an album? They have to sound like the album one way or another.
No, I don't. I may play the material from the album, but I believe that every time I play, it should be an experience for me, so that in turn it would be an experience for the audience. If it doesn't, to me, each performance is should be a sort of an adventure. This is the way I look at it. I think it should be that way. I'm not interested in what I did last week. I mean, even though I feel it may be a stepping stone to what I'm going to do next week. But only interested in that sense, but not interested in duplicating what I did, because that's not the way it should be. At least from my point of view.
So you really don't even look at your performance in any way?
Well, if it's good, it's wonderful, but it's past.
But it's not pitching a record. Right. I mean, you're not out there to sell that record.
No. I mean, I'll be happy if people buy it, because that means that, I'll be to record again.
Yeah, but, it's got a great cover.
Yeah. But, I'm not on a commercial venture, let's put it like that, to necessarily sell it. But like you say, hopefully somebody will buy it and like it,
Well, I bought it and love it.
Yeah. Thank you.
You are an old jazz fan, obviously. You were... I don't mean an old jazz. You're a jazz fan for a long time.
All right, okay. I can take that.
Your biography places you in New York in the early 50s. And sitting here rapping, I hear a lot of stories coming out.
We were just exchanging some ideas and some old experiences. Coltrane was somebody that I was extremely fond of and used to go spend many hours listening to him. And at the same time that I was listening to Coltrane, I also met Ravi Shankar. I met Ravi one cold November. I'll never forget it. The wind was blowing down 57th Street, and he was heading towards the Great Northern Hotel. And he's about 5'2", and he had this enormous sitar, and the wind was blowing, and I see this little man with the sitar and his things flying, going down the street. And I stopped him and I said, "What's the matter?" And he said, something like, I don't know where I am, what are you lost? And I said, "What's the name of your hotel?" And he said, Great Northern. So finally I showed him where the hotel was, and I said, what is this thing you're carrying? Because I hadn't been to India yet, and I didn't know the slightest thing about Indian instruments. And he said, "That's a sitar." And I said, "Gee, that's a fantastic looking man. You could get some wild sound out of this thing, I'll bet." He said, "Well, how can I hear you play this?" And he invited me to a concert. So the concert, as I remember, was at Town Hall, I think. And I showed up, and they had the sticks of incense, and the girl came out, and she did a couple of chink, 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 things like this, and then finally, a la Rocca, and Ravi came out, sat down, and they put out the carpet, and they started getting into their thing, which is tuning up the instrument and getting into this kind of state. And there were about 50 people in the audience. That was the extent. Town Hall. And I listened to the performance, and I was extremely moved, although I really didn't understand the scales or what was, I didn't understand the tradition, but the emotion I understood.
When is this in time? 50s? 60s?
This must have been 57. And so, I then decided that I'd take him around to all the jazz clubs. And Ravi was extremely kind of purist, traditional type of Indian musician. He'd never really had any contact at all with jazz, except he admired certain musicians, and he always said to me, "I'd like to meet Coltrane." So one night I took him down, I think it was to the Gate.
That's good, yeah.
And that must have been the night you were there.
Yeah, apparently, because I met him at the chance to meet him that night, yes.
And I lived around the corner from it, so I brought him down there anyway. We had dinner at my house, and then we went around from my house downstairs, and that night John was playing, and they met, and I remember they promised that they would give each other lessons. You know, Ravi was going to learn some jazz from John, and he was going to learn some Indian music from Ravi, and that was the extent of that meeting. And then you've told me just now that they went on, and there was a little bit more to it.
Yeah, well, they had planned, well, at least John had planned to record with Ravi, you know, and there was some interchange between our percussionists and Ravi's percussionists, but it never transpired. But I was looking forward to it. I really wanted to, because I think we were delving into Indian music and Indian scales during that period, you know, which I think it might have been a little later than '57, I think.
It was 59, 58.
Yeah, around 59, something like that, because I think I didn't start working with John until maybe late 59, early 60, something like that. But it would have really been an interesting thing. And as a matter of fact, we did, like I said, use some Indian instruments on some of our albums, you know, so you know, it was a beautiful experience for me. You know.
It's funny that the Beatles finally had to be the ones that, you know, did get involved with Ravi, although I think he did one recording out on the coast of World Pacific. I can't remember who it was with. I thought Herbie Mann, but I'm not sure. But I remember him speaking about that.
I think it was Phil Woods, if I'm not sure.
Phil Woods.
Yeah, possibly, I'm not sure.
What kind of instrumentation was that record?
It was India. It was a live date we did at the Vanguard, and we had tambura, you know, and Eric Dolphy was playing on that. I think he played flute or something like that. No, he played saxophone on that. Yeah, it was 2 saxophones and rhythm section. I think tambura. You know.
He wasn't playing flute then.
Yeah, he was playing flute, but Eric was. But on this particular.
He didn't play on.
I don't think he played it on this particular cut.
God, I always remember him sitting kind of like a mouse behind the drums, you know, like a space thing, and blowing this flute. Incredible. I have a shot of, in fact, of my first film, Chappaqua, started out at the 5 spot. And I went in there one night, and Mingus was playing. And Dolphy,
at the old 5 spot?
Yeah.
The old one, the Monday 2.5?
Right.
Yeah.
And Dolphy was on flute. And I got up and read some poem. And Mingus, he didn't know, you know, poem from whatever. And there was a bad bunch in there that night. And Leroy Jones was there. And he's not Leroy Jones now, he's Imama, but then it was Leroy. And he was, and I started reciting this poetry. And it was a very hostile kind of gathering in there, but they were so amazed at what was going on. We were filming and carrying on that you know, in the end it turned out turned out very nicely. And I didn't use that footage in the film, but that's where the film actually started. And I took a lot of stills that night of Eric Dolphy, and someday I'll show them to you because they're beautiful. Because he looks so wistful and kind of, you know, lost, like a little lost mouse or something behind all this. His ears were kind of like that.
Excuse me, our film's breaking down. How can we just start again? Have they seen the commercials? Can we just...
You want to come back to it now? Same thing?
Sure.
Just keep going? Well, we want to do another cut.
Yeah.
Cut.
You have to start over then.
Oh, yeah.
I'll pick it up.
Hold on, please.